Okay. Hi, I am Leon. I am the bread culinarian here at USU, and today I'm going to show you how to make knotty rolls. It's pretty simple. You'll want to have a stand-up mixer here. You can do it just by hand, but it's a lot more time consuming, so if you can get a hold of a stand-up mixer, I recommend doing that. You'll want at least one separate mixing bowl aside from the one that goes on the mixer. And that'll probably be enough. You can actually put your wet ingredients straight into the bowl here, and your dry ingredients you'll be able to mix all together in this big bowl. I have them here separate so that you can see everything we're working with. Now, for today's recipe, we've got water and eggs, milk powder, salt, sugar, yeast, and shortening. A few different ingredients, and again, as I said, you can really put all of your dry ingredients into the bowl with the flour, which is a key ingredient as well. And you can stick your wet ingredients straight into the bowl when you're ready to mix. Now I want to show you real quick, you want to be using a dough hook rather than a paddle or a whisk. The dough hook is specially designed to help develop the gluten in your dough, and it doesn't rip any of the gluten strands, so it'll be pretty important to have a dough hook if you're trying to do this with your stand-up mixer. Now this first step is pretty easy. You just need to put your liquids, which is your water and your egg, into the bowl first. Now we do this to avoid any flour deposits that might get stuck on the sides that would prevent you from mixing your dough entirely. If you put the flour in first and the dry ingredients first, the water kind of pushes it and sticks it there while it's mixing. So liquids first, and then the rest of your dry ingredients can go in. So we've got our milk powder and our salt. We've got our sugar and our yeast and shortening. Plop into there. And flour. Got all your ingredients in there. Make sure you pull up your mixer. It won't work if it's down. And we're going to do this first mix on a low speed. We're going to just start with 2 right here. So you can kind of see it's not going too fast. We're just trying to mix the ingredients with this first part. Just trying to get it all bonded together. And again, that's going to be about 4 minutes of mixing time. Okay, so once your dough has been mixing for about 4 minutes, it should have come together pretty nicely in there. Still going to look a little wet, but that's fine. You just want to make sure you can't see any clumps of any of the ingredients. And for our next mixing time, we're going to actually be shifting the speed up to about a medium speed, depending on where you're at. We're going to go to about 5 on this mixer here. And this fast mix is where it's actually going to be developing the dough and like kind of building up the bonds between the gluten. And so for this section you want 6 minutes, and you'll know it's kind of done when the dough is starting to look like an actual ball together. It'll be less wet and spread out and more cohesive. So our 6 minutes are up. Go ahead and turn off your mixer. If you're especially wise, you'll unplug your mixer for this next part. And we will see what we've got. Lower it down. You got your bowl. You might want to put a little flour on your hands here, as it will be sticky coming out. First part. Okay. Reach in here. Collect all the dough. Get a little flour, never hurt anybody. There you go. And what you're going to want to do here is just kind of shape it into a bit of a ball. Got that. Before I said you could do this with just a couple of bowls, which is true. You can take the bowl that you had your flour in, shake out that flour, and grease it up. I have alternatively prepared another bowl that's already been greased up slightly, not a lot, just enough to keep it a little bit smooth there on the inside. And you're just going to place it so you kind of have that ball shape right in the middle there. All right, got a little stick here, right there. And what you're going to want to do next is take some plastic wrap and cover it. And here you're going to be letting the dough sit for probably about an hour and a half. Thank you, Assistant Steve. Right there in the bowl. And now is the perfect time to draw yourself a nice hot bath and relax for an hour and a half. Okay, now that your dough has been sitting in its bowl for about an hour and a half, it should have poofed up quite a bit here. And what we're going to do is on your table, set a little bit of flour out, not too much, just kind of a sprinkle here. And go ahead and open this up. Now it should come out pretty easy, but if you do have a spatula or a plastic scraper, you can kind of go around the edges real quick to help make sure it's loose, ready to come out. You can go ahead and just flip that onto the table there. Now, working the dough, probably get a little bit of flour, mix it on your hands. You want to kind of gently and respectfully caress the bread and kind of just push down on it. You don't want to really spread it out too much. You don't want to push to the side because that'll kind of lose some of the gastration that you've been saving up in that fermentation process. You're just going to kind of push it down little bit by little bit. Maybe sprinkle it with a little more flour here so it's not too sticky for you. Nothing too crazy. What we're going to try and do is get it into the shape of a rectangle here. Remember, nice and slow. You want to be respectful of the dough. Get that out. I'm stretching it just slightly, just pulling on it a little bit. You don't want to do it too much. Again, you're not spreading it. Just kind of pushing it down to get it flattened a little bit. Kind of getting that rectangle shape going. Okay? There, that looks pretty good. Now, we're going to kind of eyeball this. If you have a scale at home, you can cut out exact pieces, and it's 8 ounces per piece of dough. We're just going to go ahead and cut it 3 by 4 because we want to have 12 pieces by the end of this. Cut here. And I'm going to cut here. Alright, I'm going to split those up. And if you see any glaring differences here, you can take a little bit off and add it to another piece. We've got a couple big ones here. Take a little bit of that dough, kind of also create a little bit better square shape on some of these. Maybe a little more off this one. Here. You can kind of set these to the side for a moment. What you're going to want to do is, with your fingers, sort of gently press down. You're going to roll over the top part of the square and push just a little bit, not too much. You're not going to push down to the table, just a little bit to get it rolling. You're going to kind of roll it up a little bit, and then with your hands, you're going to press down on it softly, just enough to feel that there is pressure there, and you're going to try and roll it out a little bit into just kind of a string-like piece of dough. You start out with, we're not going to go too far because you run the risk of tearing the dough if you go too fast. So we're going to start right there. That's good. Spot over here. And now you've rolled out all your pieces of dough and they're looking pretty good. And what you want to do is cover them with some plastic wrap. Just lightly. You're not going to press this down too hard. Just enough to keep it from drying out as it rests for a short amount of time. Now it's not going to take long. You're just kind of letting it rest for, looks like I'll need 2 pieces. Probably about 5 minutes really to let it get rested enough to be malleable so you're not ripping any of your dough. Get one more piece here. And to correct myself, your pieces should actually be 3 ounces, not 8 ounces. That would be too much bread for one person to roll into a roll. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and let that sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, now it's been about 5 minutes. Depending on how hot it is, you might be able to do it quicker. You can kind of feel it as you go. And we're gonna go ahead and roll these out. Now, this next part, you'll probably actually want your tray and your parchment paper, because once you've placed it, it'll kind of stick a little bit to it. Thank you, Assistant Steve. All right, now, this is the fun part of our Knotty rolls. Okay, so you're gonna roll it out even further, probably about twice the size you had it, twice the length. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. What you're gonna wanna do is hold just about all 4 fingers length in this one hand, and you're gonna loop it around so that your long side has gone over your short side, and you're gonna pull it back through, okay? And then you're gonna go back one more time underneath, so you've gone in twice. And on this last part, you're gonna take that last strand that you've been pulling in and out, and just put it across the back, and take your starting strand and put it across the back there. When that's done, you're gonna push just slightly on the center part to make it come up looking quite knotty, if I say so myself. Stick that over here on the tray and move on to our second one. So again, you're just rolling this out, and just as before, you're not pushing too hard, just a little bit to help it spread out. Once you get to about twice the size of where it was at, you're gonna pull it out. And again, your first hand is gonna take a small section, probably about your 4 fingers worth. You're gonna loop it around, over and under. And then you're gonna do that one more time, over and under. And then this last part, you bring around the back to the other end, and that beginning segment goes behind it, all finishing with you pushing up on that center part just a bit to make it come out looking knotty. I'm gonna try and say knotty several more times before this video ends. All right, so now that you've got your rolls on your tray, you're actually gonna want to leave them there for probably about an hour and a half to proof. You're gonna cover them in plastic so that, again, they don't get dried out. And just lightly cover it. You don't want to pressure it too much, just enough that it's not getting a whole bunch of airflow. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, and aside from just keeping track of the time, you can kind of tell by looking at your rolls, and you're looking for about 3 times as big as they are when you first put them on the tray. So you see these are nice and puffy, and we are going to take these and stick them in our oven for about 12 minutes at 385 degrees, and see how that goes. Yoo-hoo! Okay.